Hey, so I haven't really ever spoken about it before, but I'm a pretty big fan of the No More Heroes series by Suda51. The first one is one of my favourite games ever, and I like the others as well, even if I do have some problems with them, which I'll get to someday. For some reason, when I was like 14, I made a whole side channel dedicated to the series, which I only uploaded to once. I wanted to make a video about the first game in particular for a while, and this isn't that. I'm sure I'll make it eventually, but today I just thought it'd be fun to go through the No More Heroes Iceberg chart by Fitpool7899 on Reddit. Really huge thanks to them as well, not just for making the iceberg, but also for writing detailed notes about most of the points, and helping me with any questions that I had. They were basically the co-writer for this video, and I can't thank them enough. I also added a few extra points myself, and grabbed some off the internet, so I'll mention that when I get to them. Also, I haven't made an iceberg since I was like 13, and sounded like this.
A video explaining the Malcolm in the Middle iceberg off Reddit. There'll be a link to it in the description if you want to see it for yourself.
There will be spoilers ahead, but anyway, that's enough dilly-dally shilly-shallying. Now let's get into explaining the No More Heroes Iceberg.
No more heroes, it's Kiru, the Kiru, catch on nobody but yourself, nothing else to do. No more heroes, no time to sleep, if you're gonna be number one.
Travis, it's kill or be killed.
You probably know the United Assassins Association, or the UAA, is the organisation that organises the battles and ranks all the assassins in the games. It's a United Association of Assassins. Makes sense, right? But it gets kinda weird, since late in the first game, it's revealed to be a scam that Sylvia made up just to get money from Travis, and the other people that she's tricked. In No More Heroes 2, it's just suddenly a real thing with no explanation. It's kinda weird, but I guess it would be harder to structure the game without it. No More Heroes isn't just the title of the game, but also the trashy motel where Travis lives. And it's a weirdly cool name for one. It always kind of reminded me of the motel from My Name Is Earl, but I think that's just because they're both motels and blue, I don't know. Goichi Suda, whose nickname is Suda51, is a really cool and awesome game designer who's famous for making weird games with a lot of cool styles and unique gameplay and stories. He's one of my favourite game designers, and if you pick up one of his games, you always know you're going to get something interesting and not normal. You might know him from, of course, No More Heroes, Killer 7, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead, or even his new game ROMEO's a Dead Man, which looks absolutely nuts and I can't wait for it. Santa Destroy is the main location of the series. It's some empty, rundown town in California, but at least their flag is pretty cool. I always thought this place had a weird name because Santa, but it still sounds cool, I guess. Apparently Santa actually means holy in Latin, which I guess makes a little more sense than Father Christmas. Johnny Knoxville is a real guy who used to be one of the crazy people on this insane reality show called Jackass, where people did crazy and painful, gross stunts and pranks. It was pretty popular back in the day, and when it was on, Johnny Knoxville was one of the show's main stars, and a huge inspiration for Travis as a character, appearance and personality-wise. Suda was a big fan of the show and thought Johnny Knoxville was, quote, really funny and stupid and didn't care, but in a good way. One day, for some strange reason, he just happened to think, what if Johnny Knoxville was like a crazy weeb guy who got a lightsaber and went crazy? And that's actually where No More Heroes comes from. Crazy origin story. The last 40 minutes or so of No More Heroes is just filled to the brim with twists. Kind of a way to parody twist endings in other media, but also just to let Suda have a bunch of fun with the narrative. I hear some people don't like this aspect of the game's story, but I think it's glorious.
Why
would you bring up something like that at the very last minute of the game? The final boss is meant to be some sort of Darth Vader guy who I forget the name of. He says he's Travis's father, but he was lying, and then a girl called Jean kills him, and she actually killed Travis's parents, but she's also his half-sister and his first girlfriend. And the reason he even became an assassin, but he forgot for some reason, and that's not even getting into the true ending. In Santa Destroy, the currency is called LB dollars. It sounds pretty cool, I think, but what does it even mean? Well, LBs means pounds, like the measurement of weight, so it kinda means pounds like British pounds, pound dollars? I don't know. No More Heroes' true ending is unlocked by buying all the beam katanas and then finishing the game. I think it's really worth it because it has my favourite boss in the game and some excellent cutscenes that pack in even more crazy twists. I'm your twin brother, and it ends the game in just the perfect way. It's really worth it and an excellent ending for the game. Let's go! Nintendo is mostly a pretty family-friendly company, so their consoles don't usually have as many games targeted at older audiences. The Wii was no exception, and No More Heroes was one of the first M-rated games released on it. Some other ones would also be like Mad World and the RE4 re-edition, but there really aren't that many. The Wii's still awesome though, I love it so much. I can't believe it's 20 years old, what the hell? No More Heroes was originally just called Heroes with a capital R, but it was renamed to No More Heroes as a reference to a Stranglers song. And I'm really glad this happened because the original title was way worse and so much more generic to me. And No More Heroes just sounds awesome. I actually didn't know about this one, but the No More Heroes games on Wii actually had some little comics in the manuals. The first one showing Travis's life before the game, and the second being similar except before that game. And they're pretty neat. I miss when video games had actual manuals with cool stuff in there and not just boring legal words. Actually, games don't even have manuals at all nowadays now that I think about it. This one's pretty cool to me. No More Heroes is actually part of a shared universe in Suda51's Kill the Path series. It has games like Killer 7, The Silver Case, Slava Sun and Rain, and even a few manga series. They aren't fully connected, but there is some connections with certain characters showing up in other things, but it's mostly the recurring themes that link the series. But it's still pretty cool. I haven't actually experienced much of the games outside of No More Heroes, but I probably will eventually, because it's a pretty cool series I think. Takeshi Miike is a Japanese director famous for violent, stylistic, and weird movies like Ichi the Killer, Audition, and Visit a Q. I'd like to check out some of his movies someday, especially because of how much they inspired Suda. Miike is basically his hero. The only movie I've seen of Miike's is the Yakuza movie, which I don't think most people even know exists. I quite liked it, but it's probably not the best introduction to his work. Miike even makes an appearance in No More Heroes 2 and 3, and Travis and Bishop make a ton of references to him in his film. Suda isn't shy about his inspiration at all, and it must have been really cool to get his favourite movie guy in one of his games. Moe is some sort of word that refers to like a specific style of anime girls. I'm not really sure because I got a lot of mixed results on Google, so I actually don't know. It's here because of the scenes where Travis does this to his poster like a weirdo, and also because of Shinobu saying the word in the second game while having no idea why. Killer Marathon was the Travis Strikes Again DLC. It adds a whole extra level. It's pretty hard I think. It took me a few tries, but it also finishes off the game's story, so it's pretty important. Definitely pick it up if you haven't. A neat little piece of backstory to the first game is that Travis actually won his iconic beam saber in an eBay bid. The Sveltiger, which I have no idea how to pronounce, is Travis's bike in the first game. It was probably made by Naomi, since you can see it in her lab in the second game, and she makes all of Travis's other junk. It's pretty cool looking I think. As much as we love him, Grasshopper has never been the most popular developer out there, and No More Heroes, despite not being super mainstream, is still their most successful franchise. I guess Killer 7 and Lollipop Chainsaw would be next, but they're not too popular either. I actually have seen quite a bit of buzz online about Romeo's Dead though, which is cool. Thunder Ryu keeps asking people to be naked, and in the manual for the first game, there's one of the questions with him asks, how do you get a girlfriend? And he says, does it have to be a girlfriend? And that he'll train you after you take a shower. Not the best gay representation, but not the worst either. In No More Heroes, Jean is the name of Jean the human, but also Jean the cat, who's Travis's cat that he might have named subconsciously after her, but there's also Jean his daughter, which he intentionally named after her. I don't know, it's pretty confusing. Since No More Heroes was Suda's next big project after Killer 7, there is some similarity between the games. Most of it's just some recurring themes and ideas and stuff. They both have a character named Travis, I guess, and assassins, as well as unique styles and stories. There is some more direct references, which we'll mostly get to later, but I haven't really played that much of Killer 7, so I can't really go into that much detail on this point, sorry. In Travis Strikes Again, a main character from Killer 7 called Dan Smith is in the intro cutscene, and he actually gives Badman the mission to kill Travis, setting off the story. That's probably really cool to see for fans of the game. But even though I tried it a few times, I just really don't like Killer 7's gameplay at all. I appreciate what it's doing with like the style and the story, and the atmosphere is really one of a kind. But yeah, if I really can't stand the game part of your video game, I'm not gonna get that far, sorry. Shadows of the Damned was the game Suda made with Shinji Mikami, who created Resident Evil, The Evil Within, and God Hand, which is such an underrated gem. I've never played Shadows of the Damned, but it did get remastered not that long ago, so I might check it out one day. Damn Dark Knight is the sequel to Shadows of the Damned, except instead of being an actual game, it's just one of the fake games in Travis Strikes Again. It's a really cool and unique thing to make one of them a fake sequel to a real game. I just think it's cool and interesting, I don't know. No More Heroes 1.5 was a cool little motion comic, set in between No More Heroes 1 and 2. They actually dubbed it into English only a few years ago, which is very cool. I definitely recommend watching it if you're a fan. It's about Travis fighting some mafia guys, and there's also like a weird Shadow the Hedgehog type anti-Travis rival, but his head gets cut off in like a second, it's weird. In Normal Heroes 1, there is a character called Lovikov, who's a drunk guy whose balls are spread all over the map. You can collect them for different powers, which are actually Killer 7 references, which I never would have realised if it wasn't for Bitwar. Memory of a Child is a reference to Con Smith, because he is a child. Memory of a Woman is a reference to Katie Smith, because she is a woman. Memory of a Mask is Masky Smith, because he wears a mask, and yeah, you get it. If you're wondering why all the characters are called Smith, well, it's kind of hard to explain, because I can't even understand it myself. Basically, all the characters are part of this Smith Syndicate thing, so they're not actual people, they're like personalities inside of an old guy named Herman. But then they actually walk around independently and look different somehow. I actually have no idea how it works. I tried, you guys. But anyway, Lolikov doesn't make an appearance in any of the sequels because in 1.5 he dies. Apparently, Travis Strikes Again was going to be an original title. It eventually got turned into a Normal Heroes game since there hadn't been one in a while, and the actual hardware of the Switch got Suda wanting to bring the character back for some reason. Suda loves Hotline Miami and a bunch of other indie games, and this game was still kind of a love letter to them, but originally he wanted the whole game to be indie crossovers, where you go into the worlds of indie games instead of fake games. Apparently it would have been too hard to coordinate with the right holders and stuff, and it would have taken ages, so it had to be changed. I still like TSA the way it is, but this would have been really cool as well. This is just speculation, but it's pretty easy to assume that in Normal Heroes 2, Henry was probably supposed to have more stages. Shinobu gets 2 full stages, and Henry only gets 1 boss, even though they bothered to give him a whole moveset. Look, I don't know, it just seems suspicious to me. He even has a bunch of unused animations and stuff in the game that can't be used in that boss. And Suda also has said before that there was a lot of cut content from Normal Heroes 2. And it just really would have been cool for him to get at least 1 level. Despite not being called Normal Heroes 3 and not carrying over the main series gameplay, Travis Strikes Again is pretty damn important. And if you skip it and head straight to 3, you're gonna be pretty confused. I don't think you should skip it anyway, because it is a really interesting and pretty fun game. I wasn't sure about it too first, but it does a lot of really creative stuff, and it's also fun multiplayer. Badman is a character in TSA who's basically the second protagonist. His goal is to avenge and revive his daughter Badgirl, who was one of the assassins from the first game. He was a baseball player that got kicked from his team for being drunk or something, and then he became an assassin. Also in the co-op, Travis and Badman can do a Dragon Ball Z fusion into Travis Man, which is crazy. Travis and Badman really seem to gain a connection and become friends throughout the game. So a lot of people, including me, thought he would have a big role in 3, but then he just ends up dying really early on, which sucks. It's one of my many complaints with 3, even though I still like the game overall. Okay, so I actually couldn't find the source for this one, but I swear I remember reading at some point that in an interview, Suda was asked if the beam katana was a reference to Star Wars, and he replied, "No, I thought of it completely myself." And I think he said something about never seeing Star Wars or something. It's obviously a joke, but it's still a fun fact, I guess. Pure White Lover Bizarre Jelly is the weird magical girl NECA anime game parody thing that Travis is super into. His apartment is filled with much of it, and you can even watch an anime opening and play a shoot-'em-up game of it in Desperate Struggle. Most of the characters, or at least the main ones, are named after berries and also have mechs which can combine into a giant one called Glastonbury, which is also the name of Travis's mech. It also just hit me that all of Travis's special moves are named after berries, so they're probably referencing these characters. I never noticed that before. There's no references to the series at all in 3, so I guess it's not Travis's favourite anymore. Dr. Piss. I actually hadn't heard about this one, but apparently, before TSA came out, there was a theory that Dr. Peace was the father of Bad Girl, since both their boss fights are at the baseball stadium, and Dr. Peace mentions he has a daughter. I don't really think this theory had much to it at all, and it's quite a stretch just to assume that a character is another character's child because he mentions having one. And it was later debunked, obviously, because of the character of Badman. The song Dr. Peace sings was also written by Suda, a little bonus fact for you. It's no secret that Suda really wasn't involved in the second game as he was on the others, since he was busy with Shadow of the Damned, and also didn't used to be that much into the idea of creating sequels. It's the only game in the series he didn't direct, and it does feel noticeably different. It's still Normal Heroes in the end, even if it's my least favourite in the series, there's still stuff I really like about it. And I was surprised to learn people online liked it more than the first, because I prefer the first in almost everywhere. But I'll have to talk more about that some other day. Jasperbat Jr. was the final boss of Normal Heroes 2, and is a character that a lot of people, including me, hate. He wants revenge because Travis killed his pizza family, who you kill in side missions of the first game. In that game, their company was called Pizza Butt, but in the sequel they changed it to Pizza Bat for some reason. Maybe censorship, I don't know. Fitpool also added as a side note that he absolutely hated this boss, and I have to agree as well. It's hard, but it's not in a fun way, it's just frustrating and it kinda sucks. Normal Heroes 2 late game really seems to be building up to something big and meaningful, and then it kinda just ends with this big joke of a final boss, and it's a little disappointing to me. Although it is also kind of funny at the same time, I don't know. In 2010, the No More Heroes publisher Marvelous hired a company called FeelPlus to port No More Heroes 1 to the PS3. I love PS3, I love No More Heroes, but honestly, I kind of hate this port. I don't like the controls as much. I think the graphics look so much worse. It's actually like somebody rubbed butter all in my eyes. It just looks awful. There's some new content with like a model viewer and No More Heroes 2 bosses that you fight in Travis's dreams, but nothing really worth it or meaningful in my opinion. I really prefer the Wii or Switch version, but if it's your only way to play, then go ahead. In 2020, Travis got added as a Mii character into Smash Ultimate. It was pretty cool, but also pretty disappointing for a lot of fans, because we wanted to see him as an actual character. And while that would be really cool, I just don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen anytime soon. I would say No More Heroes is popular, but maybe not enough for Smash Bros. And I feel like most characters who appear in it are from long-running series, not just 4 games. But then again, Terry Bogard also got added, and while that's really cool for fans of his game, I had no idea who he was even after playing games for like my whole life. I feel like someone like Dante or Sans, who were also Mii costumes, seem more likely to get added one day. But Travis in Smash would still truly be epic. Kimmy Howell is an optional boss in No More Heroes 2, who's this random teenage girl who's a huge fan of Travis. Travis defeats her but lets her live, and then in 3 she comes back as a pop idol, but this time she's not so lucky. I always thought it was weird how she's an optional fight. There's nothing really special about the encounter. I don't really like Kimmy, or I think she's annoying and weird. After No More Heroes 2 had an actual Bizarre Jelly opening animated, Suda thought about making it into an actual show. Marvelous, who publishes the series, also does a lot of anime work, and according to Suda, they were actually in discussions to do something with the characters, but he didn't know how serious they were. It doesn't seem to have ever got off the ground at all, but it was at least spoken about. But I'm honestly very glad this wasn't made, because I don't care if it's a parody, I don't care if it's animated, sexualizing little girls is gross and not cool, and it's very weird and terrible. When I played clips from that opening earlier, I had to edit out a bunch of weird stuff and it was so ugh. I lose respect for Travis for watching this. Travis's kill right before the game starts was this guy Helter Skelter, the older brother of Skelter Helter from No More Heroes 2.
So he's
the stylish, fast, aggressive, packing heat.
Bada
Bing! This little clip we see of Travis fighting him in the intro is actually part of a longer fight scene from the announcement trailer, all the way back when the game was still called Heroes. It's pretty cool to see, but the voice acting is really weird.
I like that.
I think Helter Skelter's design is pretty cool. It's clear he was supposed to parody other action game characters like Dante or someone, and the way the announcement trailer works, it tries to make him out to be the protagonist before he gets killed by Travis, and that's kind of interesting, I guess. Maybe that's why there was no more heroes, because Travis killed the hero, and the hero was no more, and there was no more heroes. No More Heroes 1 had the song Heavenly Star by Genki Rockets, which is actually a song I really like. It was in my Go on a Walk playlist for ages, it's awesome. It played in a few places, like Sylvia's car and some stores, but it had to be removed in the newer ports because they lost the rights. Kill or Be Killed is one of the best songs in the series, and I love it. It was in No More Heroes 2, I think it originated from an album or something. In re-releases of No More Heroes 1, it plays in some places where Heavenly Star originated. In No More Heroes 2, 2 of the more memorable assassins, Margaret Moonlight and Alice Twilight, are actually sisters. It's a little surprising since they have different surnames and look pretty different, but before Alice's fight, she actually burns a photo of the 2 of them standing together, and Suda later confirmed in an interview that they were related. Before I knew about this, I actually assumed they were in a relationship when I saw the picture, but I was wrong, and also another one of her pictures seems to show her with a husband and kid, which I never knew until I was making this video. Okay, so I have no idea why, and I couldn't find an explanation for this, but for some reason, in No More Heroes 3, Dr. Naomi, the scientist lady who makes all of Travis's gear throughout the series, is for some reason just a tree now. She's become a tree in between the games. I have no idea why. What did Suda mean by this? In No More Heroes 1, Death Metal, the first assassin Travis fights, is supposed to kind of be a mirror of to what Travis could become in the future. He's like really rich and he kills so many people, but he feels nothing.
I feel as if
Travis
I'm
even
looking at my
talks about
future
this in his
self.
speech in the fight, but you can barely hear it over all the fighting. It was intentional as a joke, but I do recommend listening to the full speech on YouTube because it is actually kind of epic and really well written. No More Heroes 2 was originally going to get a censored, mild version to release alongside the game in some countries. This was scrapped because most people would just go for the uncensored game, and if they're both rated for adults anyway, what's even the point? It's just kind of a waste of time and effort to make, and it would just be weird. In an interview, Suda stated that No More Heroes 2 was never even going to get an open world, since they decided to prioritize other ideas. But now we actually know that it was considered, so that was a lie. You liar, you are the CEO of Temu, you said I could have a free tablet. Linking in with the last point, No More Heroes 2's unfinished open world was actually found by the YouTuber Phoenix New Moon in the game's files. It's not very finished, but it's really cool to see what could have been. I always liked No More Heroes 1's open world, I was kind of upset they removed it in 2. Okay, so this point is weird, but apparently since Travis turns into a tiger in desperate struggle, some people say that he's Jean the cat's adopted father? Okay? In an IGN stream, Suda showed some concept art of a final Destroyman design, which would apparently be used in a hypothetical No More Heroes 4. Doesn't mean 4 is confirmed, doesn't mean it's definitely happening, but if it did happen, then this design would make an appearance. I feel like if 4 ever did release, it would be the last game for a couple reasons, but also final Destroyman for the final game, it just makes sense. I'm not sure there will be a No More Heroes 4, but I'm honestly still shocked we got more than one game in the first place, and crazy things have happened before. In the same livestream I mentioned in the last point, some concept art was also shown for Hunter and Jean, who are Travis and Sylvia's kids. In the final game we only get to see them in chibi form, so it's pretty cool to see what they might have looked like in full 3D. I really like Jean's design, she kind of reminds me of Power from CSM, and Hunter looks like a Fire Emblem protagonist or something, I don't know. Apparently due to time constraints, Suda had to cut about a third of the planned cutscenes for No More Heroes 3. There would have also taken place in more gameplay sections, some of which we'll talk about later, and I would have loved to see this. I would honestly have been happy if they just delayed the game for us to get it all. Apparently Suda originally wanted there to be 100 bosses in No More Heroes 3, which would have been crazy. It sounds super cool, but honestly I don't think it would be possible for them to keep the game consistently good for 100 bosses. That's like 10 No More Heroes games in one. 2 was also supposed to have 50 bosses, but got cut to like 14. But who knows, maybe No More Heroes 4 will finally have like 7 billion assassins. Travis Bell is a character in Killer 7 who shares a first name with Travis Touchdown, and that's why he's on the list. He's crazy. For some reason, No More Heroes 1 had to be censored in Europe and Japan. Even though the game was already for adults, blood splatters were replaced with black mist, and violence in general was just removed. Like in Holly Summer's shockingly memorable scene where she kills herself with a grenade, her head just doesn't explode and it just stays there. And it really lowers the impact of the scene. The censorship is pretty stupid to me because this game is already for adults, what are they going to get from removing the blood? And it also sucks that the game had to be censored in its home country. The boss fight against Speedbuster takes place in a place called Speed City, which is a cool name. Travis has to get there in bus side-scroller style, but the city is pretty much just a massive wreck of destroyed stuff. So it's not really a stretch to assume that she probably destroyed it with her mega laser shopping trolley. The YAKUZA album is a pretty obscure No More Heroes album that has some jazz songs later featured in NMH2, and some jazz-style remixes of the first game's music. But the most interesting thing about it is that it has its own story, about Travis and Sylvia living in space after they fell in love and became immortal. I don't know either, it sounds crazy. But Robin Atkin Downs and Paul Artiso even came back to do voices, which is real cool. The whole album is meant to be like a music box that Travis finds to give her as a gift, but I couldn't find the whole thing online. Maybe if you look harder you could though, I really didn't look that hard, and there's at least one song from it available on YouTube. For this point, Fitpool said that the album I just mentioned foreshadows Travis and Sylvia's relationship in No More Heroes 3, being a happily married couple. Which makes a little sense, but I don't know, because I wouldn't really describe them as a happily married couple. Travis spends a bunch of the game just trying to have a conversation with her, and it seems like they haven't spoken for a while. The space aesthetic he mentioned does have some similarity though. Some people think this might be the canon ending sometime after No More Heroes 3, which could make sense. Also, this is kind of unrelated, but being immortal would actually suck. For a bit it would be cool because you could just like do what you want and not worry about dying, and you could keep living and seeing the world. But then imagine just being there after the whole rest of the world ends and you're just there forever. That would suck so bad, I'm glad I'm not immortal. Travis Bell from Killer 7, who I just mentioned earlier, also has a shirt that says Bad Girl, like the character Bad Girl from the game. As if Heroes Paradise didn't need any more reason to be worse, it also just has part of the map cut for no reason. All the stuff that was there just got moved around to other places. It's pretty weird. I'm kind of lost with this one because I don't really know much about 4chan, but apparently there's a lot of 4chan culture and references in Suda's games. It's not fully sure if it's intentional though, because apparently 4chan's culture actually evolved or devolved from regular Japanese otaku culture, like Kalmoji, which are little Japanese emoticons people used to use in texting. Travis is kind of a parody of weebs in general, so that could be where some of this comes from. Apparently Pure White Love of Bizarre Jelly was apparently supposed to be made as somewhat of a parody to Lucky Star, some people said. I don't really know, I've never seen Lucky Star, but from what I've seen it doesn't really seem anything like it at all. According to Wikipedia, the beam katana wasn't actually inspired by the movie Star Wars, but the movie Spaceballs. I don't really know anything about that movie, but considering where those sabers are placed and the way that Travis recharges, I feel like this could be true, or at at the very least it was inspired by both. Suda seems to be a person who's very inspired by and just really likes a lot of pieces of media, so it makes sense that the No More Heroes games have a bunch of references to stuff. A lot of them being references to Star Wars with the beam katana, Dark Star, you get it. Travis even has a poster that makes a Star Wars one in his goon cave. People also mentioned Afro Samurai being a potential influence, with Afro and Shinobu both being African American samurais trying to avenge their father. And while that would be really cool because Afro Samurai is awesome and underrated as hell, I feel like it might just be a coincidence. But then again, Destroy Man's old name was also Justice, which was the same name as the antagonist in Afro Samurai, so it could be true. No More Heroes 3 also has an Akira slide, which is awesome, and the Lovikov balls are also a reference to Dragon Balls. There's also obviously a lot of references to other Suda games, and I bet there's way more stuff that I'm missing. When Suda was making No More Heroes 1, he didn't really like how Travis's wrestling moves were animated, so he offered to actually perform some moves on the animators so they could use it as reference, which is epic. Travis's first spike, the Spell Tiger, which I still don't know if I'm pronouncing right, was destroyed late in the first game. Dr. Naomi makes him a new one for the second game, but you can also see the original in the background of a lab. I guess she fixed it. In No More Heroes 3, the boss Velvet Chair Girl has a little squid thing called Ohama, which says the name Adrian over and over again. It sounds like a weird Rocky reference, but it's actually kind of a double reference to another Suda game, Flower, Sun and Rain, where while a character is sleeping, she starts yelling out Adrian over and over, leading the protagonist to say, is she dreaming about Rocky? Flower, Sun and Rain, like I just mentioned, is another game in the Sudaverse. It was on PS2 in Japan only, but later got a DS remake that was released everywhere. In the American release, the main character has some costumes you can get from doing stuff, and one of them is a Travis one. No More Heroes 1 also has some Flower, Sun and Rain shirts in your closet. In Travis Strikes Again, there's a guy called Damon in the visual novel segments. He beats up Dr. Juvenile because Serious Moonlight got cancelled, which leads Travis to beat him up for revenge. Then in No More Heroes 3, Damon returns, and after he reveals his true evilness and stuff near the end, he straight up says that his goal was to get revenge on Travis and he never forgot what he did to him. In No More Heroes 1, Gene's boss fight theme, Rocket Surgeon, cool name by the way, was actually originally made for Destroy Man. We don't know why it was changed, but I'm glad it was because I think it fits this fight better.
Go ahead. I'm the last one. I killed your parents.
Some people think that this might mean that Destroy Man's team, Stop Hanging DJs, would originally have been Gene's, but I feel like it doesn't fit very much, I don't know, I didn't make the game. In Travis Strikes Again, Badman mentions watching Bad Girl's UAA fights. Unless she just filmed her own fights for some reason, it probably means that the UAA fights were filmed and then sold off to people. Cool bit of lore. I actually never noticed this somehow, but in Travis's bedroom, he has a picture of the Virgin Mary on his nightstand. Suda revealed in an interview that every time Travis goes to bed at night, he's basically asking for forgiveness from Mary for everything he's done wrong. I just find it kind of funny he has it among all his weave stuff. Shinobu apparently had a cut second phase. We don't know what it would have been like, but Samurai Summer, Holly Summer's theme, which is another really cool name by the way, was originally the theme for Shinobu's second phase, which makes sense since she's a samurai and it's summer. It would have actually been pretty awesome to get a second phase, because this is actually one of my favourite fights in the series. It's so epic. In No More Heroes 1's files, Henry is ominously referred to as the Kill for some reason. Not sure why, but it does sound pretty cool, I guess. In a couple pieces of concept art, Travis actually has a gun. This could have been a fun weapon to use, I guess, but I don't know, the game works just fine without it. In the original scrapped ending for No More Heroes 1, Sylvia was actually supposed to kill Travis with a gun. This would have been sad, but it also could have been kind of peak, I don't know. In Travis Strikes Again visual novel sections, the main character from Killer is Dead, Mondo Zapper, actually makes an appearance. That's pretty cool. I did play that game a little bit, and I didn't get far, but it was pretty cool. In No More Heroes 1 and 2, some of the shirts were actually designed by fans, in contests. That's really cool, I like it. In No More Heroes 2, Nathan Copeland, the first non-tutorial boss in the game, was apparently supposed to be the first boss of No More Heroes 1. He ended up getting cut, but Suda liked his character, so brought him back. Death Metal and Nathan Copeland are also kind of similar characters. They're both assassins that Travis fights after a Helter Skelter brother, they're both really rich, and they both have a billion girlfriends, and they both die. In No More Heroes 3, there's some new backstory where, when Gene was still a baby, the 3 touchdown kids ran away from their dad who was a serial killer or something, and then Travis kept crying because it was cold, which is why Henry wants to kill him in the third game. I don't know, it's weird, it's convoluted, but apparently after all that they got kidnapped and brainwashed. but this really messes with some of the other lore and makes it make no sense. It's confusing as hell, but I'll try and go over it. So if Henry's memories were tampered with, then why does he remember Travis in No More Heroes 1? And also if he remembers Travis, then why doesn't he remember Jean? Who even brainwashed them in the first place, and what was the point? Also, Jean was still a baby, which means that Travis and Henry are older, but their father apparently left Jean and her mother to be with Travis's mom, which doesn't really make sense if Travis is older. And also, he's a serial killer now? Was that established at all before? I don't know, it's just crazy.
Player 05.
The UAA Ranker's Bible was an official guidebook released in 2007. It had some exclusive art and lore, but it's not really that known about since it was only released in Japan 18 years ago. But there's some cool stuff in there. Zaka TV is a fake TV channel that appears in some of Suda's games, most prominently the infamous Michigan Report from Hell, since in that game the main characters are actually working for the network. In No More Heroes 1, the game's intro actually has a little Zaka watermark in the corner as if it was being aired on there, and I heard it shows up when you die as well, but I don't know, I've never died before, I'm too good at the game. The Hoppers edition was a special edition of No More Heroes 2, which came with 1.5, a mini soundtrack, a comic, and a mini art book. It's pretty cool, look at it, and it has a really awesome cover. So that UAA Ranker's guidebook thing I mentioned a bit ago has some pretty awesome concept art and stuff, which is cool to see, because I love character design. And there's some interesting differences between the characters and how we see them now. Travis has white hair in one of these, Lavikov is totally recolored, there's a Naomi that looks nothing like her, Helter Skelter has a DMC2 Dante looking design which I like, and Shinobu has totally different hair in one of these. There's quite a bit of other cool stuff in there too. The UAA Ranker's Bible, which I just mentioned again, also has a story about Travis killing a baseball player who he was a fan of. It's pretty interesting, it's weird, and you can read a translation on ParadiseHotel51.com, which is a really cool and awesome Suda fan site, go and check them out. The point here says Travis's first kill, but in the actual story he says that he's been getting started as an assassin, so it's probably one of his first few, but not the actual first, you know? It does also seem like it takes place before Travis meets Sylvia, but I thought he became an assassin after he met her, so I don't know, maybe the No More Heroes lore expert could explain this. In No More Heroes 2, if you shake the Wii Remote and Nunchuk after dying, you can revive like 5 times, and sometimes less for no reason. It's really overpowered and crazy. Heroes Paradise got an updated version in Japan subtitled Red Zone, which has PS Move support, some bug fixes, and the rest of the content in there was pretty much already in the international versions. In No More Heroes 1, Henry and Sylvia say they got married 10 years ago, but if we look at character ages, Sylvia would have been 14 and Henry 17, but apparently they met in college? I don't know, probably just an oversight. Neither of us are really sure about this one because there's no source I could find. Some user called Ruffled Ferret on Reddit says that Suda got in a fight with the singer who sung the song Philistine for No More Heroes 2. Apparently it was written about him and there was some drama between the vocalist and her mom not wanting her to sing it due to the lyrics. I don't know, I couldn't find the source and it seems very random and not true. In the first 2 No More Heroes games, Henry was voiced by Quentin Flynn. He was Raiden in Metal Gear, Silver in some Sonic games, Axel in Kingdom Hearts, Reno in Crisis Core and Advent Children. Sounds like a pretty cool voice actor, right? But he's not! He was accused of sexual harassment and grooming minors, which is really bad and disgusting. Some people believe he was innocent, and he did start to voice act in a few more things recently, but I don't know if he is or not. He was replaced in a number of roles, including No More Heroes 3, when the crazy brainwashed Henry was given an American accent done by Mark Allen Stewart. He doesn't sound anything like he did in the other games, and it's kinda weird, but then again, he also doesn't act like he does in any of the other games. Quentin seems to think that he didn't get replaced, and if Henry was still Irish, he would voice him, but I think he's wrong. Quentin is an American voice actor. If they just kept him as Henry, he could have done the American voice. I think they got rid of him because of the allegations. Okay, I think this point is a reference to the cutscene before Travis fights Destroyman, where he calls him
Mr. Cosplay.
The way he pronounces it is amazing, it's so funny. Let It Die was another Grasshopper game that also introduced the Death Drive console and had a collab with No More Heroes. You could get a beam katana and some cosmetics. It's pretty cool, I guess, but I couldn't seem to find much about it. I did find a video of somebody fighting these Travis imposter enemies on YouTube though, and that was kinda cool. Someone on Reddit says that Kenji Matsuoka, a character from Killer 7, is Sylvia's father because they have a similar personality. I don't know about this one at all, it sounds really like a stretch. Master or Takashi Yuichi was the lead shirt designer for No More Heroes, and even makes a cameo in the game's t-shirt shop. Very cool. The No More Loser comic was one of the bonuses in the Hopper edition, and it's about Helter Skelter and Skelter Helter before the game. I like it, it's only a few pages, so why not? I'll just dub it right now. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional voice actor or anything. Just like the banker arrived to the bank, the taxi driver to the taxi, and the president to the White House, all of the assassins arrived to this shithole of a city called Santa Destroy. This is the story of my revenge. Okay, Vincent. The nastiest jobs of the world are 2. Third-rate reporters who thrive on the misfortune of others, and assassins. My big brother was a great assassin. But aren't you one of those nasty assassins? I only want you to live properly. Don't become like Mother and I. That's extremely dangerous. One day you're gonna get yourself killed. I want to wash my hands over this. I'm really grateful that you could make me attend school until now. But I never knew you earned that money from killing. Brother twisted his lips in a sad smile. And then, like every year, he put a paper bag on the table. Of course, inside it was a huge amount of cash bills. But I didn't use that money, so that I could protect my brother's honor. Next year, you'll be graduating from college. I'm looking forward to it, Vincent. Oh, and also, if afterwards you happen to be a blonde woman from Scandinavia, do not associate with her. Whatever she tells you, your answer must be no. Okay? See ya. We'll meet here again in a year. At that time, around the same hour, somebody put up for auction this one swing beam katana. Hell, no one thought someone would sell so openly such a high-tech killing toy. No one was bidding. But apparently there was some idiot, enough to really believe something of dubious providence had a power you'd only see in the movies. And that man was called... I'll be heading over after wrapping this damn work. Just wait a bit. Brother. Hey you, what was your name again? Well, whatever. People learn many things from their mistakes, but when you get hurt from a mistake, you're already struggling in hell. That is an assassin. We assassins exist because there are a lot of dumbasses like you, who don't even know their own place. I feel for you. Yeah, is it really like that, Mr. Handsome? Huh? But you and I are dumbasses all the same. We're dumbasses to each other in our own way. And there's only one thing I know for certain, yeah? Is that you don't half-ass a job like killing. Yeah. And just like that, my brother, whom I respected with mind and soul, died. This wasn't included in the game. It's in the intro trailer. Even knowing the truth didn't take long. Shortly thereafter, a woman posing as a prostitute appeared before my eyes. That woman's name was Sylvia Christel. Yes, that was the woman my brother told me about once. Sylvia told me the name of my brother's murderer, and in quite a persuasive way, she invited me to the ranking battle. And my answer was, yes. It's been 3 years since I took my brother's place in this job. Does he remember this place? Is he still pursuing his thirst for blood? This is the story of my revenge. You are the loser. Travis Touchdown.
06.
The only No More Heroes game I haven't played, and sadly will never be able to, is No More Heroes World Ranker. A mobile game where you make your own character who fights assassins from the other games. It seems a little cool, I would have liked to try it. Death Sentence is another pseudo-manga that was released as part of a one-shot anthology made by a bunch of people. The short was about a high school girl who kills people. It's crazy, it's weird, but it was pretty interesting. I like reading it. Some people think Henry might have killed Shinobu's dad, since he was killed with a beam katana and Henry has one. But he could have also not been. There is random enemies with a beam katana, and I don't know if Henry would have had a reason to kill him. In No More Heroes 2, after defeating Charlie McDonald, you can still see parts of his destroyed mech around Santa Destroy when entering shops and stuff. It's a pretty cool detail. The Cutting Room Floor is a website that writes all about the cancelled things in video games. They also discovered that in TSA, some of Badman's animations are actually named after different baseball players. I've never seen baseball, and I don't know how to play it or any of these players, but it's still cool. El Topo is a Mexican Western film that was a bit of an inspiration for No More Heroes. The structure of fighting to get to the top, and ranking battles, I would talk more about it, but I've never seen it and I don't know much about it. Kamui Uehara is a major character in the Silver Case, and also characters in other Suda games, who are maybe the same character or a different character with the same name. It's pretty confusing. Kamui has mysterious powers, and the main one in the original Silver Case game, which I should really play someday, was a serial killer. Like I said, there's also other Kamuis, and one of them is in No More Heroes 3 and TSA. He acts nothing like the character in anything else, and also acts different in those two games. He's also apparently dating Midori Kawa, who's another Suda character who we'll talk about later. I'm sure a bigger Kill the Past expert could have done this point way better, I'm sorry. Apparently, if you clash swords with Harvey too much, he turns Travis's beam katana into a spiral heart moon rod thing, which I'm being told is from Sailor Moon. And you can't fight until the effect wears off. I couldn't find footage of this, but it sounds real and funny. In No More Heroes, the wrestling moves you unlocked are written by MS, who's probably Mask the Smith in Killer 7. He's a wrestler who wears a mask and his last name is Smith. I don't know. Travis Strikes Again is a really deep game with a lot to say about a lot of stuff. Suda kind of uses the character of Dr. Juvenile as a self-insert, to symbolize some of his own personal frustrations about the game industry. It's pretty interesting and cool. I really like Dr. Juvenile's design, and also bonus fact, she's Dr. Naomi's sister. A lot of things in TSA got censored and changed from how they were originally planned to be. In the intro of Mr. Doppelganger, he would have beheaded the guy, but instead he cuts his throat. There's a similar thing with the Serious Moonlight intro, and Garcia was apparently gonna gnaw his own hand off, which is nasty. But these weren't allowed in the game because apparently Nintendo didn't let him. It's kinda stupid because I feel like there's worse games than that on Switch, and also the game's already for adults. I don't really mind that much, to be honest, though. There is actually footage of the uncensored scenes shown at a convention, though, so you can check that out if you care.
Player 7.
Before the boss fight against Sonic Juice in No More Heroes 3, you have to go through a turn-based section that Travis hates because it's slow and boring. Travis and the boss have a whole back and forth talking about hating something, but it's bleeped out, so you can't really understand it. Turns out they're talking about Final Fantasy VII, which Travis hates because the characters look fucking stupid. You can see the whole uncensored version on YouTube, and it's kind of epic. At the end of the Mimi boss fight in No More Heroes 2, Mimi was originally going to have blood leak from her eyes, which is scary and also a reference to Angel in Killer 7. But instead she just blows up and explodes. Vippool remembers seeing the images, and I believe him, but neither of us could find it, so there, No More Heroes Lost Media exists, go find it. The text-to-speech voice used for the boss introductions, which by the way are really cool, is the same voice used for the episode titles in the anime Serial Experiments LAIN, which is a great show. I've actually been using audio clips for the different layer sections. Billy McDonald was a boss in No More Heroes 2, who was some Yuri Lowenhall Skylander, what? Yuri Lowenhall high schooler with a mech and an army of like 1,000 cheerleaders. In the files, someone found a short scene, which I'll play now. There's no dialogue or anything, and it's a pretty nothing scene, but it still exists, so it's my job to talk about it. In No More Heroes 3, there's this black hole prison place that gets mentioned a few times, but Travis was originally meant to go there after being killed by Henry. There would have been a whole gameplay section, and a boss fight against Fleming from Shadows of the Damned, which is cool, I guess. And Travis going there actually makes more sense, because when he's talking to Fu in that great scene before their fight, he talks about it as if he's actually been there, which makes more sense because he was actually supposed to. In No More Heroes 3, Sylvia changes costume a lot, and in the concept art of the game, she has a space uniform and the page says Captain Sylvia. Okay. Travis Strikes Again's visual novel segment apparently appears in one of the endings of the 25th World Remaster. That's pretty cool, I guess. In the true ending of No More Heroes 1, Erman Palmer is some guy who tries to kill Travis before Henry comes and saves him. He's basically meant to be the character Garcian from Killer 7, but since Capcom owns the rights to that character, he's the copyright-free version. Death Metal Jr. is the son of Death Metal, the first boss from the first game. He's a pretty obscure character since he only appears in the visual novel segment of TSA, and I honestly had no memory of him existing. Alfred is a character in Travis Strikes Again. In the Damn Dark Knight cutscene I talked about earlier, he's some guy with dark wings who flies down and kills Garcia. We really know nothing about him, but he looks like a pretty cool villain. His dad is Fleming from Shadows of the Damned, and his sister is Midori Kawa, who's also Kamui Uehara's girlfriend. The Sudaverse is crazy.
Player 08.
Red, Blue, and Green is a collection of 3 Suda51 stories set in between the 2 Silvercase games. They were originally released in a book, and then later got a manga adaptation, both only in Japan. And that would be it, until 2 awesome people who go by Valiant and Sayakon not only translated the manga into English, but even made a visual novel Silvercase style game out of the story, which is just so awesome. I haven't played the Silvercase, but when I do, I'll be sure to check this out, and it's just really cool. I love it when fans do stuff. Even when people make projects in general, it's amazing. You should work on a cool project right now, please, I want to experience it. Midori Kawa, who also appeared in No More Heroes 3, is actually from this book. She has these weird monster things on her hands, and she's weird, I like her. No More Heroes 3 Final Bout All Out Galactic War was the original planned title for No More Heroes 3, but it got shortened because it was too long. But I actually really like this title and I wish they kept it, it's awesome. No More Heroes 3 only had Travis as a playable character, which is a little disappointing, since Desperate Struggle and TSA both had more characters than that. People think Shinobu and maybe Bad Girl were going to be playable at some point, and that would have been really cool. I think they're both super underutilized. In the original plot of No More Heroes 3, Travis was going to fight assassins from all over the world instead of space aliens. That sounds like it would have been cool, but the aliens are more unique, I guess. Apparently Garcia from Shadows of the Damned was supposed to be a playable character in No More Heroes 3? Couldn't find a source for this one, sounds crazy, but I guess it would have been pretty cool. This part is like all nonsense to me, so I'm just going to read what Fitpool wrote. In Travis Strix again, there's a CIA plotline where the CIA were trying to make super soldiers by using the Death Drive Mark II. In the Silver case, the first Kamui Uehara was basically the perfect human being used by the CIA because he always did what he was told. Plus he had the Silver Eyes, FNAF reference. The Silver Eyes grants immortality, and that's why people speculate that Travis and Sylvia had him in the Outer Rim. The first Kamui Uehara died, which I don't get because I thought the Silver Eyes made him immortal, so then the CIA decided to get babies, raise them in shelters, and turn them into superhuman assassins. When they get activated later on in life, they'll start killing people, and some of the times they don't even know that they're a Kamui or a Yami, which is apparently a female version of a Kamui, until they start killing people. So in TSA, when they're still trying to make CIA super soldiers, it likely means that they're trying to make Kamuis or something similar using the Death Drive. That's why the TSA Kamui randomly wanted to kill Travis, but managed to fight against it. Suda51 said in an interview with Game Explained that he would actually consider making a No More Heroes 4 in about 10 years or so. He also mentioned that Marvelous actually owns 90% of the IP, so he wouldn't be able to make it without them being on board. But they let him make 4 other games, so I assume they would. So yeah, that was the No More Heroes Iceberg. I thought this was fun to make. I like Iceberg videos. It's just fun to learn stuff about things you like. I feel like this video took me way too long to make because I was busy with some real life stuff and stuff, but I'm excited to finally work on something new and to finally get this out. If you like No More Heroes, you should subscribe, because I'll probably make more videos on it in the future, and even if you don't like No More Heroes, why did you watch this video? But you can still subscribe, because I'll make more stuff about other stuff as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a really awesome day.